Hello, football faithful, and welcome back to another episode of Eagles Talk with Deeg. My name is Brenden Deeg. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It would be greatly appreciated. You can also rate the podcast and review the podcast wherever you do listen to your podcast. I would also greatly appreciate that. It's holiday season, and you know what the best gift or stocking stuffer is? Well, it's our sponsor, Manscaped. Manscaped has the tools that guarantee you win this year's stocking stuffer or white elephant competition. Manscaped is the leader in men's below-the-waist grooming, and they have served more than 4 million men worldwide. If my math is correct, that's almost 8 million balls. Get 20% off and for shipping to go doink at manscaped.com. Manscaped's best-selling product is Performance Package 4.0, which is the top of every man's wish list. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower Body Trimmer, the best trimmer on the market for your balls, butt, and body, and the Weed Whacker Ear and Nose Hair Trimmer. Let's not forget their famous liquid formulations, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner, to maximize your ball hygiene routine. Get the Performance Package now to receive 2 free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Get 20% off and free shipping using code DOINK at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping using code DOINK at manscaped.com. Be the ballsiest gift giver ever this year with Manscaped. Last sponsor today is CoolBet. CoolBet is the most transparent gaming company in the world. CoolBet also provides the best odds in Canada with world-class customer service. For first-time users, use the deposit code DOINK, D-O-I-N-K, DOINK, for a 100% welcome bonus of $200 when signing up with CoolBet. That's code DOINK, D-O-I-N-K, DOINK. And CoolBet will match your first deposit up to $200. Give our friends at CoolBet Canada a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at CoolBet Canada. CoolBet. Stay cool and bet responsibly. My friend, my man, Thomas, is back with us talking some Eagles. How we doing?
Be the ballsiest gift giver this season. I mean, that ad read
Brilliant.
just gets better and better and better.
Brilliant. If someone's buying you right now listening to it, just from that line. Thomas, I know there was a big Eagles game, but everyone, like all the listeners, are just dying to know, how'd the banana cream pie turn
out? Well, like it always does. Taste was on point, but of course, I wasn't able to cut out the pie from the pan without having everything just totally destroyed. So it looked awful, and it tasted perfect.
All that matters is the taste. Doesn't matter how it looks in the end, That's all that matters.
Exactly.
I've been craving it since, to be honest. So I actually might go get one today.
I still have some leftovers if you want to come by.
Want to ship it to Canada for me?
Now you just come by. I think that's a better idea.
I'll hop on a flight right now. Okay.
I'll just say I was happy that I had some banana cream pie with leftovers when I was watching the Eagles game because I had to.
Something had to taste good.
Something had to taste good. It's
disaster game.
It didn't. The Eagles didn't look good, and it also tasted horribly. You just left with a bad.
Yeah, exactly. It was. We talked about it. I think off air. I don't know if we did last week. We said, if they lose this game, it will deflate all the progress and everything that kind of happened over the last 4 weeks. Don't know if that's true in the grand scheme of things, but it feels like that, and that's how fans are feeling. I want to start with the last play of the game because I think that is the kind of topic of conversation around Eagles radio, Eagles Twitter, where if you're an Eagles fan, that's kind of what you've been thinking about. What did you think that Devonta Smith was, 1, open? 2, did you think Hurts made the right decision going to Rager?
Do I think he was open? Yeah, for a second. I mean, the safety did a very good job. No, not quite. Who's the safety? It doesn't matter. The safety did a very good job of recognizing it as soon as Devonta was breaking up the sideline. So if you were to throw the pass, you had to throw it as soon as he was breaking up and separating from the cornerback coming across the field. Because at a certain point, the safety would have closed in on him when the ball got there. Mm-hmm. It would have been. I mean, he was open, and it would have been a relatively easy throw if he had anticipated it when he was breaking up field, and then he could put some air on it. Otherwise, he would have to really gun it in there before the safety could get there. There was a little bit of he had to do some stepping up in the pocket. And that was on the relative time to when Devonta was cutting it upfield.
Mailata got beat there, right? At the end, I think.
Got beat. I mean, he carried his guy towards the edge, and Hurts did a deep drop back, so he had to step up into the pocket. So it's like a combination of Hurts taking a deep drop back and Mailata just taking his guy to the edge where he had to go. So beat, no, but it ultimately ended up being the result that he couldn't gun it in there if he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And he put a ball on Rager that was right in his hands at the goal line. So I think it was a fine decision relative to what happened on the play.
Yeah.
And by no means was that the
End all
reason
be all.
that end all be
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No,
That's not why
they
they
lost.
lost the game. They had 2 drives to do that. They had 2 drives to get there. Defense did everything they had to do and more in this game. So they had plenty of chances to get the drive going. Boston Scott unfortunately fumbles it when they were really driving there, and Jalen Rager, as always, could make the play.
I thought the decision was fine in the end. Like Devonta Smith was may have been open, yeah. Um, just the throw to Rager was brilliant. In my opinion, like it was a great throw. I don't know how much better you wanted from your quarterback in a 4th and 10, trying to
Yeah.
score with 20 seconds left. Rager catches that ball. It's probably a 50-50 if he gets in the end zone. He was kind of at the 1-yard line. He could battle for it. And then you're running up, clocking the ball with about 2 seconds left, and you get 1 play left. So I thought it was a fine decision in the end. And I think it was over talked about this week, but I get why. I think the other thing too, in the grand scheme of things, is it kind of harped on the fact, and I said this on Tuesday's show, Devonta Smith needs to be the focal point of his offense after the run game or any sort of passing game. 4 targets is just not enough. And I think that's what kind of pissed off fans, is because that kind of emphasized the fact that Smith just wasn't targeted enough in this game.
Yeah, I think for many fans, and that last play is just very palpable, and it's easy to take that play and sort of expand it onto how everyone was feeling about the game. And so way too much is being put into that play, but really, to me, it's just a symptom of the frustration of not getting more out of this game.
Yeah.
And like I just said, only giving up 13 points with 4 turnovers and a turnover on down. So really 5 turnovers of possessions for the offense, and you hold them to 13 points.
Yeah.
Defense finally stepped up.
They did their job, man. Like,
The O-line did their job.
Yeah.
Run game had it going, and then it was just 1 interception killing a drive, another interception killing a drive, third
Yeah.
interception killing a drive, and Boston Scott fumbling the ball, turnover on downs, and the execution was just all over the place. The first drop by Rager wasn't even a really good. It wasn't a good pass. It was a floater right up in the air. I thought it was DPI, just relative to how they were calling that game. But I
There's
mean,
Aaron Robinson too. Eh? He was the
I was
guy. He was the guy right after Milton Williams. You know, remember the Jeff Donahue
yeah, I
craziness?
remember that.
Yeah, so I think
I
he was the
remember,
next
and
pick.
this was just
But
also one of those games where I was sitting there. I just hate being that guy that goes, "Oh, that was a penalty," or "That was a, but why don't they call this?"
yeah,
But I was that guy in this game
yeah.
because it
Eh,
was terribly
There was a
biased.
there was a couple, man. That let's go over Hurts' interceptions, because I think that's where the game was lost. He had 3 interceptions. The first one, I don't think was his fault. I think it was a fine throw. I think Kes Watkins kind of got held a little bit and pulled
Yeah,
back, and Watkins didn't keep running through the route. He's got to continue going through that route and keep going. Like he was kind of expecting a flag, it wasn't there. And if you look at the coverage, when I rewatched the game yesterday, after I watched a condensed game on Game Pass, and it was not a fun 45 minutes. But what I did realize in that throw, it was the right play. Like the safety came over Devonta Smith on the left side of the field. Watkins was wide open, not wide open in the middle, but it was a fine decision,
yeah,
in my opinion, to make that throw.
yeah. I agree on that.
Now, the other 2 are different stories. The one before halftime is where they lost this game. And I keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
You cannot throw that ball if you're Jalen Hurts. Absolutely 100%, no doubt about it. That ball's got to go with 3 rows into the MetLife Stadium. You cannot throw that there. And that was the game. That play, they put a touchdown there. It's over. It's a different game. And that was so key to this loss.
Yeah, and I think if you want to take out one game and really say, "Oh, this was the wrong read," or "This guy was open for the game-winning touchdown," it's not really the last game. It's that play because Dallas Goedert is coming wide open on a crosser there, and for maybe a second, he's open for a touchdown. And a second is all you need when you're in the red zone because everything's going to close quickly. Everything moves quickly in the red zone. So you're not going to
Yeah.
get a guy standing wide open unless it's like a play action bootleg and you have some guy just getting out, like getting away from everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're running a regular pass play, Dallas Goedert was as open as gets on that play. So yeah, I agree. And then not getting any points at all from that drive. Nate Herbert getting called for a couple of holding penalties where it's
Yeah.
like, I guess like if you go slow motion and look at it, maybe you can call it, but also it's like that's not nearly in the top 50% of the worst holdings in that game that you could have called.
I kind of feel bad for Big Nate. Like he came in, he actually played pretty well in the game.
He
Like
pancaked the guy
yeah,
and got called for a holding. It's
and
like,
he
what?
yeah, and like you're asked to like jump into this game for Jason Kelsey like a quarter way through, and like you're going up against guys like Leonard Williams. Like the Giants D line, interior D line isn't bad, right? So it was just kind of like I thought he was fine, and it was just those two kind of calls got him kind of heat throughout the fans. The third interception on Hurts, and this is something I want to talk about with you. Look, I
That
think
was the
Jalen
worst
Hurts.
one.
Yeah, I thought it was the worst one, and I think it kind of again opens up a grand scheme conversation. Is the biggest problem with Hurts so far, and I think I've noticed it, you've noticed it, and anyone watching has noticed it, is the arm strength on deep balls. If he doesn't throw it at a right time and he's not like getting it off quickly, it's a problem.
Yeah, not getting his not getting his feet set and driving into the throw, because the going back to that second last play on the pass to Rager, that's off balance, just wobbling up there,
And
and
Rager
then
was if that ball's out earlier, if the ball's deeper, Rager's
yeah.
open. Rager
What
was open
was
there,
the
right?
third interception also? Was that a pass for Rager? Was
Yeah, it
that a
was.
throw?
That was a deep
Okay.
shot to Rager.
Yeah.
The third
Yeah,
one.
he's
Yeah.
open there. He
Yeah.
had the corner beat and the safety was flat. So yeah, that was a touchdown too. That was the most frustrating. I mean, the one before halftime was like, I get the idea that I think maybe it was a Devontae request. The guy that he was targeting on that play looked like he was coming back, and then he slips.
It was.
And
I
then
think it was Boston Scott got pushed.
yeah,
but I think the original throw was
that
Devontae
pass
Smith.
should never been thrown. That should
No,
have just been thrown out of bounds.
In 3 yards in the MetLife Stadium. Give it to a fan. Huck it there.
The third one was just bad because you had a guy wide open, and it was simply just a result of not putting enough air on it.
Yeah, and he's got to get rid of the ball earlier. It's becoming a problem. Like if you want to be a Hurts, like everyone who's not big on Hurts, and that's probably his biggest critique, is he's not reading the field exactly. He's kind of second guessing himself, which is something that can be fixed. So I don't think it's I don't think it's the end of the world, but it's definitely been an issue with him. Okay, so you did a breakdown of Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson kind of as a combo team this week, which was a very good video. Recommend checking out on Tom's YouTube channel, Breaking the Birds. If you haven't already, please subscribe to it. It was a really funny video. I was kind of cracking up. Those two guys are freaking awesome.
Yeah, that's my go-to whenever like win or lose, because you always get a thrill out of watching that duo, and it is so fun to see. Like, what is Landon, 22, 21? Mailata 24, and you look at these two guys.
24,
yeah, and you look at these two guys at the left side, and you just look at them and say, "Wow, this left side is so good for so many years to come."
So 23,
okay.
Yeah.
So and just did you see the sideline video Eagles posted where Mailata's like calling for Landon every time he needs to get his chin straps buckled?
And then there was one that they posted. I think it was before game, and they were doing warm ups in the end zone, and I think Mailata goes, "I'm mic'd up," and Dicker's like, "We're all mic'd up today," and he's like, "I'm not as cool as you," or something. Like those two together are just so awesome. They're the best part of the season,
and they're so goddamn strong.
Yeah,
like you said it. Those defensive tackles of the Giants are no joke. They're big dudes, and it was nothing. They were just being moved, and Mailata took so good angles up to the second level on the linebackers, delivered some pops. You and I, before we just went on here, talked about those 3 plays where they're pulling Jordan and Landon to the other side.
It's like my favorite play. So yeah, do you want to break down that play? Because I'm sure fans will know, like just from watching the game, they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so really it's a straight up QB run design. There are really not that many reads to it. So what you have is you're faking the handoff. Running back is going to the left on both the plays. Dickerson and Mailata will be pulling to the right side. Kelsey, I believe, was in at that point. Driscoll and Lane will all be down blocking to the left side, so faking as if it's zone. And they're going to let the defensive end go. So the first job for Landon Dickerson is get out and then kick out whatever, either it's a linebacker or a cornerback, something to the outside. That's unfair. And then you have Mailata's going to follow right up on that, and he's going to seal block and lock block on the defensive end that they let go on that side. And then you have not like to seal it all off, you have Dallas Goedert on the right side of the line. He's going to release up for a linebacker. So that just creates a massive hole.
Yeah.
And both Lanton and Jordan are hitting those blocks
Maya
in
Lotto
perfect
was
balance.
crushing people in that
He
play.
was crushing.
Yeah.
And
There's that one I think you posted, right? The one that you posted where he actually just destroys him. I think it was
he
you,
actually
right?
just destroys
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
It was the biggest hit. It was the biggest hit of the year by an offensive
And you
lineman
had
so
the
far.
wham blocks back again. I'm sure that's all credit to Jeff Stoutland. They did that. Remember the Green Bay game where Jordan Howard scored 3 touchdowns? I mean, I think it was 2 seasons ago, maybe.
It was 2019, right? 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they really started to use the wham blocks. And sometimes they bring them out again. Sometimes they have periods of time where they're not really going for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really relative to when they're going against very good defensive tackles. It's a way to really take them out the game. And Dallas Goedert, massive blocks on Dexter Lawrence, and Landon Dickerson putting dudes on the ground because they're not expecting it. They're being let go as if it was sort of like a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly you come and you're getting ear holes from the other side by Landon Dickerson. It's beautiful to watch.
Yeah, no, it's PK. That was my favorite play. That play call, I think they ran it 3 times. It worked brilliantly. Jalen Hurts at least got 10 yards rushing almost every time. So, man, make sure to check out Thomas Vito there. It's good. Those 2 guys have been probably the best part of the season so far on the offensive side of the ball. Okay,
you want a smile on your face.
There you go. Yeah,
not a lot
to smile about this week. Okay, what else on the game? I thought the 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2 play calls were brutal. I don't know if you remember that sequence where the Eagles, I think they were at the Giants 45 or 40, and they went for it, which is fine. Threw it twice. One was like a slant to Rager and one-on-one with no kind of concept to it. And then the other one, I think that was the 4th down. The 3rd down was the Gainwell. They drew up a play for Kenny Gainwell, his first target of the game. I didn't like that play call. Didn't like that sequence at all by Sirianni. I think he definitely deserves some blame as well. I think he should have ran the ball a little more earlier and often because the best drives of the games were when the Eagles were running it. And I know he did. The Eagles still ran for 200 yards, which is crazy to think about because it didn't seem very it didn't seem like it at all. So no, I thought Sirianni could have been better.
And if you're going to pass it in that situation, why not just have Dallas Goedert run a quick slant or have Devontae Smith where he sets up a cornerback? He's done it so many times already this season, and he's rarely getting targeted on it. It's just baffling.
So let's have a regular conversation right now. He drops the ball twice at the end.
The regular conversation.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Is it time?
I've been preaching on this show with you and saying that they should not be targeting him and forcing targets to him. He again had 7 targets this game. I think this game emphasized the fact that he is not the long-term solution at wide receiver 2.
Long-term, short-term.
He's not the answer.
Return.
Yeah.
Special teams is brutal.
He's probably going to be back on the team next year, but he shouldn't be. You can't give him the number 2 role. They got to go out and replace him.
It's like Nelson Aguilar was shifty. When you looked at Nelson Aguilar play, even though he was dropping passes, he was a major disappointment as well. But when he was moving, you could see that elite. He was agile. He was fast. He had so quick feet. He got open so much so that he was dropping passes. I mean,
it was literally just his drops that was the problem, right?
We all know what that story ended with.
Yeah.
And I'm just not seeing anything.
No.
I'm like it's nothing. He's not breaking tackles. He's not returning well. He's not catching the ball. What are we going to do?
I can't imagine what went through his head on that second drop. Just like, oh my God, I'm going to get torched on the internet right now. You know what I mean? He's already been public enemy number 1 almost for Twitter fans over the last couple of years. And now that just, that probably
the whole social media thing is just adds another level to it.
Yeah, and you had this tweet a couple days ago. Jalen Reagor in 2021 among 92 wide receivers, 0.62 yards yards per route run, worst in the NFL. 8 yards a catch, worst in the NFL. 9 catches for first down, second worst. 2 out of 10 catches, 5th worst rate. Contested catches, 5th worst rate in the NFL. The stats back it up. He's just not it. And I don't think look, he's still young. I think he's 22, 23, but the most likely scenario is he flames out and becomes maybe a 4th wide receiver for the rest of his career, right?
Yeah, because what is the argument right now for not having John Hightower on the team?
I agree with that. I don't get why he's not getting any looks. Okay, so what else? I think the Jalen Hurts thing with this game is how different does this look if if Rager catches one of those balls? You're getting a fourth quarter comeback there. You know what I mean? Like now he's not looked upon good in this game. He still shouldn't have been if they won that. But if he catches that ball, it's a whole different story on talk radio and what we're talking about right now.
Because then it's one of those cliches like, oh, you beat a team that you were expected to beat, and even when the going gets rough, you still find a way to win, and then it's all that sort of thing we go through, and now I mean, it's true though. The Giants weren't making any major mistakes, and it all came down to one last play.
4 turnovers to 0. This game emphasized how much better of a football team the Eagles are from top to bottom. Like, if the Giants turn the ball 4 times and the Eagles don't turn over 0, it's a blowout, right? Like, if you flip sides, the Giants didn't do anything. The only thing the Giants did right was not turn the ball over. And I said that on Tuesday's show. The Eagles defense didn't get a turnover, and the Eagles defense played really well, but like they just never got that takeaway. And that takeaways have been huge for this team over the last those 3-4 wins the 3 wins that they had in that 4-game stretch, because they were getting big turnovers, right? That the Denver Bronco fumble return from Slay, the pick 6 from Slay, right? Like those takeaways were really big for this team.
They were, yeah, but then again, this wasn't one of those games where the defense had to win it. They did everything they had to, and way more.
They get 2 chances right at the end. They got the ball back twice. Yeah, they know exactly, 100%. Okay, we only got a couple minutes left. I want to talk Jalen Hurts big picture here because it's been a big topic of conversation. Did this game change your outlook on him at all?
No, not too much, because it was some of the same things that we've been seeing. Just this game, they tried to throw it a bit more than I think we've seen in the past few weeks. I mean, what we saw in the last 5 games was a lot more running early, and then the same amount of running in the second half.
Yeah.
The same things with not really anticipating those deep throws, not getting the ball long enough down the field. We've seen that before, and this time we just paid the consequences of it. The first interception, like you mentioned, there's some time with the receiver there. Not like that was one of those throws we go, that's not really on the quarterback, but that goes in the stat sheet for the quarterback. So, and then and the interception to end the second half, that's just Hurts trying to make a massive play because he wants the ball in his hands. He wants to make that kind of play, and that wasn't anything new about it. But he did well with his legs. That's what we know is his strength. Yeah. He is not, I think it's safe to say, he is not a very good passer. We know that. Maybe he's not even, like, maybe he's even bad. We'll see. Like in terms of passing the ball. So no, it didn't change. It didn't change much for me, I would say. I just didn't see improvement in this game.
Yeah. It was kind of a step back from what you saw the last couple of games. I think the let's make a decision on Hurts right now conversation that Eagles fans and Eagles media think they need to have after every game is garbage. Like, you need to let this season play out. Yeah, the most likely scenario for Jalen Hurts right now in the Eagles is he is back in Eagles uniform in 2022, unless they completely flame out over the next few games and he plays terrible. Like, Jalen Hurts right now is a $1.643 million cap hit next year. You're telling me that Howie Roseman and this Eagles front office doesn't love that? They can use those 3 first-round draft picks on defense, use the cap space that they do have to build around him, give him another year, and let's see how he looks in 2022. Maybe he improves on this passing deficiency. Maybe he improves on getting the ball deep downfield earlier on deep passes. Let this play out. Don't rush to a conclusion. He will be on this team unless the alternative is better, and I don't see a better alternative in the draft. I don't think trading a bunch of draft capital for Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson is what this team should be doing. Let this play out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The only thing I really I don't know if I'm not gonna conclude on whether it's the right move or not right now, but I think the only thing that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie want to do is if he doesn't show any improvement in the last games of this season and he goes out have another multiple interception games in, I don't know, 3 out of 5 or whatever, and Deshaun Watson gets cleared of all legal cases, I could see them saying Deshaun Watson is the same type. Like, he's a very legit running quarterback. He has an arm, he can throw it, That is the deficiency we have with Hurts. We see an offense that could work with that, and then they go out and spend on that just to have one surefire quarterback.
Would
That
you would you trade 2 first-round picks and Jalen Hurts for Deshaun Watson if everything kind of comes together? I know it's a long time away, but I'm curious.
It depends on where those first-round picks are. It depends on what the
Let's say the Colts and Dolphins pick.
But if you have 2 top 10 picks, say the Eagles and the Dolphins or something like that goes in the top 10, you can hit on 2 difference makers, and that the team right now needs blue chip players. They need those different making players on all levels of the team. I think we have it with DeVonta Smith. I think we have it with Dallas Goedert. We definitely have it with Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson. Jason Kelsey is getting older. Lane Johnson's getting older, although he probably has some quality years in him as well. But other than that,
no, yeah, I agree. They need to infuse this team with young talent.
That is a massive conversation to have. So I think the it's going to be very interesting, and I think that is going to be playoffs or not. That's what's going to be the thing to monitor over the next 5 games. Is what will Jalen Hurts do?
I think they should. I actually also think they should trade back in the first round and grab another first-round pick because the 2020 exactly 2023 draft quarterback class looks a lot better. So, all right, I know you got to go quickly. Jets, anything you want on this game? I didn't do a ton of research or anything on this.
Do you remember my prediction for the Giants game? It was like 35-13 or 17, whatever. Yeah.
So you cannot. You gotta stop picking.
I'm never going to pick the Eagles again. Yeah. I'm going to say Jets win this by 3 games. by 3 points.
Okay. So you're taking the Eagles, but taking the Jets at the same time. It's kind of how you're
yeah, I guess. Yeah. Jets suck. Eagles are a bad football team. Let's see how this plays out.
I'm going 30-20 Eagles. I don't know what to expect. The Jets are a bad team. They got to attack Zach Wilson. They got to get after him. They got to turn
toilet ball. We're probably going to get Jonathan Vilma on the mic again.
Oh God. Can't wait for that one. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to check out Double Dunk podcast yesterday. It was a great episode. Weekend wagers. We'll be back tomorrow if you're looking to win some money this weekend. Check out that. My co-host Eric Warren has been awesome this year on the picks, and we will talk to you later.